talking about the Pacers and Knicks, man. How many games do you have it going, and who do you have advancing?
I think you should go first. I think with all Knicks things, you should go first. I think it'll make it interesting.
Okay. Listen, I'm gonna stop saying I'm not trying to be biased because I think that should be clear at this point. And maybe you may not believe me. Maybe I sound like I'm lying, but trust me, I believe in everything I say. Like, no, there's nothing. I'm really trying to keep the fandom. I'm really not trying to allow that to affect how I see the future. But I have the Knicks taking this series in 6 games, and the reason why I will say that is because, okay, there's a lot of reasons, but we saw this series take place last year. It was in the second round. We saw it go to 7 games, and the Knicks were down about 3 players. OG Anunoby was hurt. Jalen Brunson was hurt. I believe he had broken his hand. Josh Hart was hurt. He had an abdominal injury. So there was just a lot of injuries during that series last year, and the Pacers needed 7 games to advance. Now, this version of the Knicks team is not the version they had on the floor last year. You have Karl Anthony Towns, you have Mikal Bridges, and yes, it may not be as deep of a team. You don't have your DiVincenzo, you don't have Julius Randle, but I think you've upgraded this team, and the Pacers haven't necessarily made any moves. I will say they are hot right now. I think they are the hottest active team right now in these playoffs. Within the 4 remaining teams that are left, the Pacers are the hottest right now. They have been on a roll. So that's going to be hard, but I think we've seen, not to bring up, the Clippers, man, but the Clippers were really clicking prior to these playoffs, and we saw them run into Denver, and yes, they took it to 7 games, but the Nuggets came out on top. So we have seen that these playoffs, we play by different rules, different, I guess you really do see the better teams advance, the better teams take the 4 games. So I think, man, I think the Knicks, it will be a tough series. Pacers have a lot of strong players on their roster, but there's nothing that's going to convince me that the Knicks will not advance, and I have them doing it in 6 games.
Interesting. I thought you'd say that, honestly. And I'm not trying to call you biased or anything. I just think, I think that there's a lot of logic and reason going behind the Knicks winning this, because I honestly do think this is a 50-50 series. I don't think either team is clearly better than the other, especially in terms of how they're playing right now. But I got the Pacers winning this series, and I backed them against the Cavs. I didn't back them against the Bucks, which I should have. I regret not backing them. I think my Giannis bias was speaking there. But like you said, last year, it took the Pacers 7 games, and you're saying the Knicks are better than they were last year, understandably, and more healthy. But I think this Pacers team, compared to last year, beating the Bucks in 6 games last year, but 5 this year, I think I don't know. I think there's something about the Pacers this year, and I think there's only 3 words really to describe it, and it's what the Howley. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I'm sorry for that, but yeah, honestly, I just think this is really going to come down to like a potentially iconic showdown between Halliburton and Brunson. I hate to make this about superstars. Well, not superstars. I don't even know if they're superstars yet. Stars. But I hate to make this mostly about the stars, because these are both very fleshed out, great teams. Well, I know the Knicks are more of a Tom Thibodeau run them into the ground starting 5 type situation, but I think we're gonna see Halliburton and Brunson put on a legendary back and forth. That's honestly what I want to see and what I think is gonna happen. I think both of them are gonna go crazy, maybe even averaging nearly 30 a game in the series. But I don't know. I like Halliburton's game. You said Brunson is a clutch player of the year, which he was, and he's very good in the clutch. But I think Halliburton's a bit underrated down the stretch as well. And I think how many games, because like I said earlier, because the Knicks are the higher seed, if it goes to 7, that New York crowd. I think if it goes 7, I would have to go Knicks, but I think the Pacers in 6, which is maybe crazy. I think if they don't get it done in 6, there's no way they win Game 7. So I think the Pacers in 6. That's what I'm going to go with. But I 100% could see your prediction happening as well.
Interesting. Listen, what I will say, and this is what, okay, like I know I just gave like my thoughts and why I thought I had the Knicks coming out on top. I'm going to give you another reason why I think the Pacers won't be able to advance. I think last year we all saw Tyrese have very pedestrian games in that series with the Knicks. He's the type of player that can go from, he'll score 30 points a night, but then the next game he'll score like 5, he'll score 10. And if you're this deep in the playoffs, that's not going to be a sustainable stat line to put up. Yes, you have Siakam on your team, you have a lot of key pieces, you have a lot of great shooting on your team, so you can make the argument that yes, he does not need to put up 30 every night. But I think I'll read out the last 10 games that Tyrese has played. I said Giannis because I'm looking at the Milwaukee stats. So since the beginning of these playoffs, he's scored 10, 21, 14, 17, 26, 22. This is his first game against the Cavs. 19, 4, 11, and then 31. So highest scoring games were when he put up 31 points, which 31 was in the last game, the closeout game against Cleveland, and then he put up 26 in the closeout game against the Bucks. So he's good in the closeout. He's good. Puts up really high numbers in the assist column. So that's, even if he doesn't score the ball, he's effective on the offensive. But I think you gotta be able to rely on more points from your best player, and I think that's what's gonna come back and bite the Pacers. And granted, like I said, I just saw Jalen Brunson figure out 4 elite defenders in a series. I don't think the Pacers have as much defensive tenacity as the Celtics, and you could even argue as the Pistons, man. The Pistons, their strongest attribute was their defense. So I think that's why I'm not picking the Pacers. I think those two things will play a key role in the Knicks being able to come out on top. And I also think the Knicks have the players to stop Halliburton. If OG stays healthy, maybe he alternates with Mikal Bridges. Maybe Josh Hart has a few defensive possessions on Tyrese. I think that's a recipe for disaster if you're Indiana, and that's why I have the Knicks going out or coming out on top.
I think that's completely fair. And I think I personally think Brunson's gonna bring the best out of Halliburton. I think, I don't know, maybe this is a gamble, and maybe I'm prescribing Halliburton to be more of a player than he actually is, and maybe in the series he will prove himself not to be. But I think certain players in those, one in the biggest scenarios, but also against their best competition, that's when you see the best version of them. And I think those tend to be the greatest players in the game. And maybe Halliburton won't go on to have a career like that and be that guy. But I'm curious about what that's going to be in this series. Like you said, I think he's up against it. But I'm prescribing that in him to see something like that come out of him this series, to consistently drop 20 plus. And like you said, in those closeout games when I think it matters the most, he's showing up. But like you said, he's going to have to do that across the series. So maybe I'll be wrong, and maybe he'll come up short in some of these games, and he's not the guy I think he might be. But that's the risk I'm taking in predicting this, and I'm hoping to see that out of him.
Fair. We'll see, man. We'll see. Regardless, it'll be an exciting series, a historical series. So, I'm excited. I will be watching, and I can't wait. But now let's transition over to the Western Conference. The Thunder and the Timberwolves, man. Who do you have?
See, my head is saying one thing, my heart is saying another, which is crazy because like I don't root for either of these teams. But out of this quote unquote face of the league square up, I much prefer Ant. Not even because I think he's necessarily the better player, but I just prefer him as a player, like his style of play, and just his personality as well. So I want to see the Timberwolves go through. Will they? That's so tough. That's so tough. I think if the Thunder didn't need 7 games to get past the Nuggets, I would very confidently predict the Thunder to win the series. Maybe even in 6. But the fact that the Timberwolves just got 2 teams out of there in 5 games, and you could say, sure, this Lakers team was never gonna go all the way, but that's still Bron and Luka. Like, and this Warriors team had a ceiling maybe too, and obviously Steph was injured, but even when Steph was playing, I wasn't thinking that they were gonna have trouble with him. Jimmy Butler, obviously, Draymond, the greatest player of all time. Like, there's players that are taken out there, big name players that are taken out there, and in 5 games too, which I think is important because they may be let me see, I guess along with the Pacers, but one of the most fresh teams going into this conference finals, and hot teams going into this conference finals. I'm basically waffling because this one's really it shouldn't be, but because of these other factors, this is really a coin flip to me. And I think I know which team you're gonna say, so I'm gonna go the other way. I'm gonna predict the Timberwolves to take the series in 7 games. Do I truly believe that? We'll see. But I like I said about the Pacers Knicks series, I think I'm picking the worst team in both series, but I'm picking the player I believe in the most. And in this scenario, Ant's that guy. And I think Shea, I maybe I sound like I'm hating on Shea. I just don't like Shea's play style that much personally. Free throw merchant, but I think Ant, I don't know. He's just that guy to me, honestly. Maybe I'm glazing. He's just that guy to me. And I think obviously they have other pieces too, Gobert, Randall, and DiVincenzo, all these other guys. But I think when it really comes down to it, who's going to show up in those moments? And I think it's Ant. But, obviously this could very well go the other way, and I'm sure you might make that case. So go ahead.
Yeah, it's tough, and I know I mentioned that the Wolves don't have enough perimeter defense, in my opinion. I think you're gonna need that in a series with the Thunder. I expect Luke Dort to be put on Ant Edwards, and I expect him to slow Ant down. Will he? Maybe not, but I think the Thunder have enough bodies, enough players to put on Ant. They can slow down Randall as well. And honestly, I'm sorry, man. It's actually, nah, let me not. That's a little bit messed up. I was gonna say, I feel like you can really figure out Julius Randle, because he's gonna make a lot of his. He's gonna do a lot of his scoring within the perimeter. It's gonna be in the paint or within the perimeter. If you can force him to shoot that 3, I think you want that, because I don't think he is as effective from the outside as he thinks he is. I think he believes that he is a better shooter than what he actually is. And you have J-Dub, you have I know I mentioned Luke Dort. I haven't mentioned Alex Caruso, who shut down Nikola Jokic in that game 7. And so the Thunder just have so many players in their rotation that they can rely on, and that's why I have them going and advancing. Yes, they just came out of a 7-game series, so it is going to be interesting to see how they regroup. I wouldn't be surprised if the Wolves take game 1. I would not be surprised, but I think the Thunder, they need to get, and they will get, at least one of the first 2 games on their home floor. So I fully expect that to happen. It's going to be hard after coming out of a 7-game series, and they played on Sunday, rested today, which is Monday, and they're back on tomorrow. So, it's going to be tough. And this is also playoffs. I think every playoffs prove one injury to one player can really change the course of a series. So maybe we look back on this and we're having a different conversation. We've seen teams come out of 7-game series really hobbled, and we've seen how that affects future series. So maybe the current roster we have for the Thunder, obviously I don't hope this is the case, but who knows if this is the roster that really, or the players that really make it out on the floor for the complete series. We don't know that. We don't know the answer to that, but time will tell. But regardless, I have the Thunder. I think they just have too much, way too much. I'm interested to see how that Hartenstein Gobert matchup is going to go, because Gobert, you would expect him to win that rebound battle, but Hartenstein is gritty, man. He was on the Knicks last year and he played such a big role. The way he can just grab offensive boards, I think, is going to be key. It's going to give the Thunder just more possessions to play with, so it's scary, man. So I will say, man, you know what? Nah, I was gonna say Thunder in 5, but I'll say Thunder in 6. I'll respect Ant. But I think this is where his run ends, and I have the Thunder advancing to the finals. And final prediction, I have Thunder and Knicks making it to the finals, while you have the Wolves and the Pacers. So we'll see what happens, but very interesting basketball that's ahead. I'm so excited. It's getting real. It's getting crazy, man. We're down to 4 teams, and it's been a treat to watch these playoffs, and I'm sure these remaining 2 series will be equally as rewarding. So, I'm super excited for sure.